This is a deep dive on the Orzhov guild. After today, we have seen half of the guilds of Ravnica. After this, something in these videos will change. For now, we'll look at the Church of Thrulls, the white and black guild of the Orzhov. Welcome, esteemed guest. Make yourself feel a little bit at home and take some of the food we've prepared for you. Enjoy the show and don't forget that the Orzhov always solve debts. Like with the other guilds, the colors will summarize our magnificent church shortly. The black color lets the Orzhov philosophy of power and money over anything shine through. The Orzhov bankers and clerics value wealth, authority over others and prestige. They become friends with anyone that has power. Black also stands for the Orzhov focus on longevity. The Orzhov prolong their lives as far as possible, and afterwards the richest oligarchs become spirits for the syndicate. The Orzhov guild as an enemy-colored guild is one of duality. The white part of the guild is all about integrity. The Orzhov always pay their debts. Faith, mostly faith when it comes from others, but the Orzhov were founded upon a religion. Although now they have more faith in their own power, it is still faith. Servitude and order, again most when they're forcing others in line, and then they value family, friendship and community. Because ultimately, you should always be loyal to your ancestors, especially since they stick around for such a long time. When combined, the two colors tell us about the Orzhov's focus on tradition, structure, religion, and most of all, power over others. These three words really summarize all of the Orzhov, so I'll repeat them: power over others. As we, the Church of Orzhov, are all powerful, I will be completely open with you. You're just no threat, and remember that all debts have to be repaid. So in trade, I expect you to subscribe to my channel. As I said, welcome. Debt to the Deathless to me is the most Orzhov card. Because yes, at the front they're a church. On the second layer, the Orzhov are a criminal organization with too many monopolies. But really, the Orzhov don't stop at any point while they're gathering the fruit of their debts. The Deathless are the members of Orzhov families that have become spirits, and when you have a debt to them, this three-headed spirit might come around. The spirit in this art has been combined from three spirits, something the Orzhov can usually only do to earthly remains. More on that later. But with enough money, the Orzhov can do anything to make you cry from fear so that their debts will be paid. It might not net them a profit, but they will get their debts paid. It's the rule. And often we don't get our mana back. We pay 5 mana for 2 damage and life gain, 6 for 4, 7 for 6, and then at 8 for 8 we break even. But it's worth it to keep our reputation up. Now that you're part of the church, let me show you our guild structure. It keeps us together as a community. First, there's the guild leaders. For the longest time, these were the Obzedat, Ghost Council, but change is indeed coming. We will cover all important leaders in a bit. Under the leaders, there are the True Blood, the Orzhov family members. They keep their thumbs upon the wealthy family of Ravnica and make sure that all rich families eventually fall under them. These oligarchs show other families with riches so that they just barely stay financially sound. Half of the money gifted would be donated back to the church to trickle down the ranks again. Plus, gifts are debts too. Then come the managers and vice presidents or pontiffs. As these functionaries have a public-facing role, the theme of religion starts to show here. Pontiffs and every higher-ranked Orzhov prolongs their lives, unlife, and they make sure that they have a better death as a ghost. This does enable them to gather more power for the guild, but also mutates their physical bodies. These mutations are also passed on to their children, so that many Orzhov leaders are now deformed. Teysa, for example, has a leg that doesn't work. Among the pontiffs are the cartel families. They often have their own structures with ranks beneath pontiffs, so they have their own armies and clerics, for example. The Orzhov still control their lands and the cartels have to pay their own taxes. The Orzhov also take taxes from the citizens, so cartels have to pay twice. In order to gain money and power within the Orzhov, the cartels have to get to the Obzedat or the guild leaders. Then we have the ministrants. These are the priests and the practitioners of religion. They gather the confessions of followers of other guilds and use it to gain power from them. The ministrants are the true front of the Orzhov guild, and they make the church seem softer than they are. But to the Orzhov, it's good that they are trusted, because it makes them less of a target. A relatively small part of the guild are the knights. They gather money and deal with sinners, of course only with the people that are sinners in the eye of the Orzhov. The Orzhov don't need military might, as they say, because they have faith and wealth to keep the people down. Then there are the syndics, who do all of the administrative tasks. They keep tally of debts and coordinate cash and resource flows. The flesh mages, who make the thralls out of the bodies of dead people, fall under this working class. And most advocates fall under this rank as well. These are the Orzhov law mages, who focus on the laws the Orzhov choose to make, and when they work with the true Azorius laws, they focus on finding loopholes in them. Tomik, one of the guild leaders we'll discuss later, is an exception to these loophole finders. He usually loves to follow the law and wields it as a weapon. The largest part of the guild with the lowest ranks are the borrowers. These are people with a debt to the Orzhov, which means that they have no rights and aren't really a part of the guild. But they still do their biddings, because that's part of paying off their debts. Now let's go over the most important creature types and roles of the guild, to shape a better view, and then I will show you the guild masters of Orzhov. Starting with the backbone of the guild, the Thrall. These are the beasts that are made by shaping the flesh of fallen guild members into new workers. They are used as pets and servants, although the Orzhov get little pleasure from having these because they have no choice but be servants. The Orzhov still use them as ever-living symbols of power, because only Orzhov true blood can order these beings around. Thralls can be shaped into many forms, like some flying ones. This old new one also shows us that even the bodies of the patriarch leaders are formed into thralls. It's not like their soul is in there, probably. Some thralls are made into larger beasts. For transporter thralls, 33 to 43 bodies are used. This one, for example, brings in fresh, new debtors who can then be made into new thralls. This thrall also sports the first Orzhov mechanic, which is afterlife, which stands for the Orzhov focus on longevity, because it says that you get to create an amount of spirits after it dies. Funny thing about this one is the golden mask made out of broken or useless coins that is used to obscure their horrid faces. But why does this heap of 40 bodies still have a face? In Karlov Manor, a thrall is being used as a doorkeeper. There are some interesting pieces here, because thralls should be primarily black colored, but this one is made to look relatively fancy, so that the front of the Orzhova is kept up, and why would you not just use a debtor that's alive? Well, these thralls will never be scared by threats, so they're the perfect bouncers. The perfect thrall in general is the maw of the Obzedat. This recycling machine is used to have debtors back in order to have their debts be forgiven. The Obzedat never forgave even a single person, but they like the fact that these borrowers willingly throw their lives away in a timely manner so that they can serve on as spirits forever. Another creature type that perfectly fits with the city plane Ravnica are the Gargoyles. These are statues that were given a soul, then the mages started to carve in the statues to give them form, so that they've been tortured while coming back to life. This made them perfect docile servants to stand on the rooftop lines of Ravnica. Their screams of pain are so loud that they break bones and wake the dead. Kaya, who we'll cover soon, used an army of these to attack the Azorius during the War of the Spark. Gargoyles are also used as fountains for blood to drink from, which brings us to the next group who give new meaning to Orzhov blood. The strong vampires use gargoyles to get them their blood as tithes. Very useful to have your tithe taker be the container for the currency as well. Tithe drinker also shows us the tithe taker mechanic, extort, which fits with the Orzhov value of paying your debts. Even weaker vampires have now been siding with the Gargoyles, because they were afraid Gaia might kill them, and Gargoyles have bat-like wings anyways, so it fits. Vizkopa is the bank of the Orzhov. Here, they are the only ones in Ravnica to make coins at the moment. Vampires have been a loose part of the guild for a long time, showing us the more hedonistic and opportunistic side of the Orzhov, where even during the War of the Spark, the vampires were celebrating the war. Most Orzhov had been celebrating war because war means weaker people to exploit while you pretend to defend them. The Orzhov eventually did fight against Nicobolas, but that took a lot of convincing. Would you expect angels in a crime syndicate? Yes, let me explain. Angels are primarily white aligned, and on Ravnica they usually follow the Boros Legion. But those that doubt the purity of the Legion turn to the Orzhov and are lured by the status and respect over purity that doesn't exist. Because yes, angels are about community, but they also want respect. And they get loads of that in the Orzhov Church, where angels are rare symbols of holy power. The angels bring a weird sense of order to the Orzhov and are usually still very white aligned in this sense. Maybe they just found the church motives to be fitting. Plus they can find even further on ending life with the Orzhov. Angels don't really die from being old, or at least we haven't seen it on Ravnica, but when they die, the Orzhov angels can have their followers sacrifice themselves for them. The angels have a sense of pure duty to their guild, but other than that their essence has been emptied. They're rarely seen and inspire fear in any person nearby. And because of this, the Orzhov will always embrace them into their guild with open arms. The angels inspire order, and so the Orzhov have been a neat family of criminals for ages. The undying ghosts of the first ruling families were on top for centuries. This is logical when you look at the origins of the church. The Orzhov came from a true religion where you worshipped your ancestors. It slowly got corrupted into being a church of deals and power. The Obzedat are the ghosts that retained consciousness and power. This took a load of wealth and power again. They're rumored to have signed the guild pact, but this isn't sure. It might be probable because the rules of the guild pact don't count in the chambers of the Obzedat. They just don't work, and it's very Orzhov to take the laws and twist them to your own gains. That's why all the lawyers are from the Orzhov guild, while the other order-aligned guilds offer only the judges. Karlov is the main guy of the council, the grandfather of Teysa Karlov. His ability is to grow in strength whenever you gain life, which to the Orzhov happens whenever you take a tithe from one of your borrowers. Then by paying 6 of them, Karlov uses his influence to exile another citizen. That's how, without being physically there, Karlov gets to dominate the city. Well, that and through his granddaughter. Teysa saw opportunities, moments in centuries where the old council was slowly crumbling. Teysa was the spokesperson and in many ways was the physical body of the Ghost Council. Her grandfather manipulated her in true Orzhov fashion, but Teysa grew over time. At first as an advocate who even saved Feder, the then Boros guildmaster, but later as the left hand of the council. Teysa is diplomatic to the point where she has a list of at least 24 slightly different smiles to use in different situations. To her, life and death are the same. This seems like the Golgari philosophy, but to them, death and life are connected yet different, while to the Orzhov, life and death are just states of being present. Teysa used to be defined by her family, where they allowed her to become a strong member of the Orzhov and of Ravnica, all in order to keep her under their rule. In this card, she sacrifices her loyal followers to remove other people through the power of the law. Whenever Orzhov members die, they leave behind spirits, which can then be used to manipulate the law. Just after being a maze runner for the Orzhov, she would pester Jace to agree with multiple small laws. Jace's words would then become the true new law. Aside from that, Teysa had also gotten the chance to rewrite parts of the Guild Pact, which had now become her proudest creation. She would keep the book close to her whenever she was stressed. When Teysa had finally become an important figure, the Obzedat took her in as the Grand Envoy. This meant that Teysa had a lot of power over all the rich families, and it meant that Teysa had almost no power against the Obzedat, and the Obzedat would be safe from the powerful families because they had to get through Teysa first. This is what we see in her card. Because any creature attacking you can be stopped by her protection from creatures, and when they get to you, they die and become a spirit on your side. While she did protect Karlov and his mates, she read something that inspired her. Freedom from the mortal connection to crude coinage allows the Obzedat members to pursue true holy power, unshackled by worldly concerns. So why do they still pursue coin? So, inspired, Teysa summoned the Boros commander Tajik. Tajik was instantly smitten when Teysa lied that she valued integrity over coin. Well, partly lied because integrity was something she did value in others. Teysa bought a knife from the coin Karlov had given her because of how she talked back to him. It was a sign to belittle her. With the power of the laws affirmed by Jace, she could enter the Obzedat's record rooms, like how guild representatives may move from a guild-controlled place to another, and how all security measures must be checked by the Azorius, so the security measures of the Orzhov could stop working. Teysa did note that law magic felt weird and stuffy, probably because it's Azorius territory. She opened the mausoleum of her ancestors, showing skeletons with many deformities, normal to Orzhova whose life were unnaturally prolonged. Teysa showed Tajik a ledger with all the crimes the church had committed, and this meant that it should be shown to the Guild Pact as proof according to the law. But Teysa was taught by Karlov. The law did not work in the Obzedat mausoleum. Karlov says that this is because the Orzhov have always been wrong according to the law. In this manner, the Obzedat chambers are the perfect Orzhov place, a safe haven against the Guild Pact, a place where the Obzedat and only them rule and choose what happens. Teysa was imprisoned for a long time, until she was freed by Kaya. Ravnica was later attacked multiple times and the Orzhov grew more powerful because of the protection the Orzhov had provided in trade for money and deals. And now they want more than ever. To balance out their corruption over the populace, the Orzhov helped found the Museum of Ravnica and built a new, very expensive neighborhood called Plaza Karlov, where murders at Karlov play out. So no, their reputation still isn't the best. Teysa hosted the party where she'd bought every piece of Izzet fireworks to show the world the Orzhov had no worries at all. Teysa celebrated the acts of Kaya and those of Rami, having Ezrim choose honoraries who then received bags of money from Teysa. She even let Ezrim flame the guilds for not detaining a cruel god as his agency had done so quickly. Teysa had learned the Phyrexian language during the Phyrexian invasion to speak with them in order to convey important information to the resistance on Ravnica. But because Teysa had communicated with Phyrexia, Oba of the Celestians thought Teysa had betrayed Ravnica, so Oba killed Teysa. She'd only later return to help imprison Oba because debts are always repaid. But Teysa wasn't the main character in that fight. One flavor win is that her 3-mana version of Karlov's Manor can be brought back with Call a Surprise Witness. Teysa did get to take over the Orzhov Guild as a spirit, returning the Ghost Council to its place with new ghosts this time. She also promised to make the Celestians pay for what Oba had done to her and their guild. But while she said that, Teysa was probably just angry because Oba had ruined her party. But let's go to our main character now, with a bit of a side mission first. While Teysa and Kaya are the most important living guild masters of the Orzhov, Tomik took over for Kaya for a bit as well. He's also friends with Teysa, who he has served while she was imprisoned by the Obzedat. Tomik has a love for the true law of Ravnica and was therefore on the side of Teysa, who used the law to her advantage too. But nowadays Tomik is mostly responsible for whitewashing money, much of which he does via the guild of his husband Ral-Zarek, so that he could rebuild the Izzet guild. See how Teysa's fireworks might have more meaning now? Tomik specializes in verbal contracts like marriages if you will, and barriers to protect treasure troves, like husbands if you will. Tomik doesn't like loopholes, He intends to honor his agreements even without using the space in the fine print. And that brings us to Kaya, a planeswalker who does not always follow the rules or the law, but who is a kind-hearted Orzhov leader. She is an assassin, yes, but only kills people that deserve it, and often only the monsters who can definitely fight back. Not even for money. She killed Heliod, for example, and even tried to kill Vorinclex almost single-handedly. Her main power is that she turns into a ghost state, where she can touch ghosts and can't be touched by other things. Very useful to an assassin for the Orzhov. So that's exactly who she became. After being manipulated by Bolas, who of course saw the Obzedat as his largest obstacle, Kaya discussed her plans with Teysa, noting that the ghosts meet in the basement, by which Kaya meant the catacombs. Kaya got Ral, who got an army of Golgari zombies to attack the church, so that Kaya could get to the basement. She passed a bunch of traps and angry ghosts until she came to 2 giant Thrulls. She got it the first in a minute and Attack on Titan the second one after getting hit by it. She picklocked a final door and got to the ghost basement. Then her wrath was unleashed. The only defense from the ghosts an offer of gold. But there was another thing. For every Orzhov guildmaster killed, their leadership fell to Kaya in the form of pure black magic, wearing her down with a headache and a weight so harsh that she fainted immediately. The mana was the essence of the depths owed to Karlov and his friends, and it was killing Kaya, and Kaya actually had a home plane to save. Kaya learned that that's why Bolas couldn't kill the Obzedat. Their depths would hurt him too. So Kaya defected from Bolas and freed people from their debts owed to the guild, and then raised taxes from 10 to 40% to compensate. Due to unrest, she lowered it a bit again. She then rallied the Orzhov to fight against the Dragon God. After the war, Kaya went to assassinate Liliana, and Kaya had to give her power over to Tomik, and Teysa overtook the Orzhov again easily, passing the advocates by stating that Kaya did not do her job. But let's get back to the taxes. At first, one person stopped paying. A tithe taker, Miri, writes a journal in her ledger about her job being hard. Her first tithe had been refused. She was just doing her job. Then 8 people didn't pay, but her father was still crying from pride when his daughter showed him the money she had tithed. But the tithe taker wasn't happy. Taking money didn't bring her joy, even if her family needed it. Here she goes against the values of family and money. But she'd taken up another job as a flash mage, someone who makes trolls. Miri said that she was used to borrowers begging for their lives. It was just what they did. How detached the Orzhov are from humans. She'd always wanted to join the Celestians. When she'd watched a woman get flayed alive for not paying, a flash mage made a spirit out of her, bound her spirit to a tome and ordered it to queue. The corpse was cleansed, made to smell better and decompose less. Then they checked the orders and see that a treasury troll was needed. So they needed a 6-ton beast for which 40 human bodies were needed. But our tithe taker could do it in only 33. But Miri was more interested in becoming a Celestian. So she stole a robe from the body. When her father found her like it, Miri tried to explain how she heard the body tell a secret. Her father only forgave Miri for the defilement when Miri said the secret could bring her family fortune. So Miri had to infiltrate the Celestians and got a proper journal. Twice blessed palm leaf paper with yellow flowers on it. She's now being encouraged to write about her emotions. Just a day in, Miri already started seeing business opportunities in the conclave. A seamstress made beautiful dresses and she could make a fortune on Tin Street. But when Miri wanted to buy a dress from her, she'd only wanted a tea kettle, not money. And when Miri asked the smith, he wanted knitted socks. The knitter wanted wolf fur, and the wolf rider wanted his pup walked in trade. Miri did it all. When she had to learn the chant of Vitu-Ghazi, she did not succeed in using it to help a plant grow. They'd all die, because Miri had seen and touched too much death. When her friend helped her, she'd feel so grateful for their generosity and sacrifice. Something that is very Orzhov in many ways. Miri went to Vitu-Ghazi and found that the tree had been weakened. This knowledge could bring up millions of Xenos. Miri went to tell her relatively poor family, but she realized how wealthy they already were, because they had love. When Miri went back to taking tithes, Kaya had lowered the taxes back to 18%, still an increase of 80% from where they began. And everyone happily paid. Miri gave her father a money tree, in which she put a gold coin every day. Her father was happy and she had a piece of Selesnya in her home. A little bit about the takers and enforcers as promised. These are the backbone of the guild. When they kill, they often leave a business card at the scene so that people can hire the assassin from the Orzhov. Some enforcers become executioners, who are giants who judge people in the name of pontiffs. The best enforcers become knights. Their titles are not always positive traits, but they are helpful traits to the Orzhov, like those who remember or calculate obligations very well, or those that bring sorrow, carry tithes, or just take them perfectly. Back to Kaya, who will give a faint glow to this Orzhov deep dive, for when Oba attacked every guild leader with the vines of Vitu-Ghazi, Kaya could slip through the roots. But Oba then used roots that could hold ghosts, and Kaya had to weave in and out of existence by turning into a ghost to evade real branches, and vice versa. The World Soul then helped one of the vines disable Kaya's magic. Kaya then thought of her love for Ravnica, and then about Tyvar and Nahiri's ways of shaping nature. So Kaya talked to the World Soul. It was meant to protect all of Ravnica, not only Selesnya. She was then, through the power of love and friendship, able to phase through the roots again. Using the thought of her debt to the Orzhov, she ran to Oba, and together with Teysa, who had just returned, they stopped Trostani. Teysa then forgave Kaya for her debt of letting Teysa die, seemingly softer than ever, and still told Kaya that she had to leave, because Teysa wanted to rule over the Orzhov and wanted to make Selesnya pay. Kaya turned ghost and hugged her friend, showing us true friendship, which is also a value of the Orzhov, who, at their best, are just very fair. Like Kaya says, so everyone gets what they truly deserve, I will keep watch. And I thank you for watching.